she just died in the stall last night. And it's cold. It's very, very cold here.
Well, it's something that should be said too, is that her heart rate was really high and she was cold, which the vet seems to think that it was maybe a heart issue.
Yeah. So, but either way, the situation that we have to deal with now, regardless of how the horse actually died, is that she is in a stall and frozen. And because she died during the night. And so now we've got to deal with, how do we get her out? My mom was, she was absolutely, I want to say traumatized. My mom's had horses her entire life, and gosh, in 30 some years has only lost a couple of horses, besides to very, very old age. When my dad built this barn, how many years ago? 30 years ago. He built it with the plan of having to someday take a stall wall down in case of emergency. Or, you know, like we've made it, he made it so that all of the like the dividing walls between the stalls, they all come out, and the fronts of the stalls can very easily be taken off. It was very simple to take the front of this stall off. So these are not prefab stalls. These are all, everything was made by hand and built to come apart. One of the issues we were dealing with was the amount of snow that we had. Luckily, we had the Bobcat to plow a trail for the backhoe. Another thing, too, is the Bobcat was small enough and could go directly down the barn aisle and through the smaller gates to get in the pasture, but the backhoe was too big. So luckily, with the way that these pastures are laid out, there's a variety of different gates, and they're all plenty large enough for big equipment to get out in the pasture. So that's definitely something to think about if you're planning pastures. We were very thankful that the ground wasn't completely frozen and we were able to dig a hole pretty easily. We did bury a horse last winter, and this was not the case. It was extremely difficult to get a hole dug because the ground was completely frozen solid, where this year it was so much easier. So we were very, very lucky for that. I always feel like the way a horse is laid to rest is really important. And since we weren't exactly happy with how she was laying there, my husband was kind enough to climb down in the hole and reposition her. And then, of course, he had to have a little bit of fun and get lifted out of the hole in the bucket of the backhoe. So yesterday morning, my mom came back here because this horse was missing. And we're back right at the edge of the woods. And she found the mare back here. And as you can see, there's a lot of branches down, and it's very matted down here. So she clearly, was up and down a lot. But when my mom got out here, the horse got up right away and very willingly walked back to the barn with her. So, and they got a vet out right away, and the vet tubed her, checked her temperature, they got blankets on her, all that stuff. And the horse's body temp was down to 97, but her heart rate was very elevated. She wouldn't drink anything. She did start to eat some hay, and actually, when we just buried her, she had a mouthful of hay still. So to see that happen, it really only makes sense that, she may have had a heart attack. And the way that she was in the stall, there was no struggle. It looked like she just laid down, but she had a mouth full of hay. So doesn't appear that she had choked, but she clearly was eating when she died. This is my parents' farm. And I just kind of want to talk about the way that they planned 30 years ago to make their barn, so if something bad does happen, it could easily be taken apart. So this is a stall that the horse died in, and she's a very big mare, probably about 1,500 pounds, half draft. and she, her head was right here against the wall. This is where the stall door was. The stall door is right here right now. It got taken off. And then her body was against here, and her tail against the back. So, and she was laying there like she had just laid down. There's no sign of struggle or anything like that in the stall. And she wasn't covered in sweat, nothing like that when my mom found her. And another interesting thing is that she had a mouthful of hay. So it just appeared like she was eating and then just dropped dead. My mom was out here late last night, and the horse seemed to be doing much, much better. So she was extremely surprised this morning to find her, find that she had passed in the stall. But what I want to show you is how easy it was to get her out of here. This is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it's traumatic, but it's reality, and I want to educate as many people as I can about what you do in a traumatic situation like this. So basically, when my dad built this barn, he greased all the 4x4s when he put them in the ground, and so he cut it off right at the bottom here and then cut it right here, and these boards just popped right off. Very easy. So none of this had to even be touched. So a neighbor has a bobcat, piece of machinery, and brought that over, drove right down the barn aisle, and we got a tow strap around the horse, and when he drove out of the barn, just pulled her right out. And since it's the end stall, it was very easy because she wasn't drug on the concrete, and got right out there and was able to be pulled out into the field where she was going to be buried. So it was such a fast process. And I'm going to tell you, when I was in high school, a friend of mine, her horse had died in its stall in the middle of the night. And we have very cold temperatures around here. Today it's about -13 or so. I think yesterday we had -20. So and that's without wind chill. With wind chill, it's like -30. So it's been cold. But anyway, this friend of mine in high school, her horse died in the stall and froze solid. And the only way that they could get the horse out of the stall, because of how everything was built, the location, everything, they had to cut it up with a chainsaw to get it out. So, you know, my dad really put a lot of thought into building this barn, and knowing that he had to make things so they could be movable in case of emergency situation. So my word of advice is, if you're going to be building a barn, think about those things in advance, because it's really hard when you're in the moment and have to make decisions like that to try to think what you're going to do. And, you know, especially when it's freezing cold out. You know, it's so cold that the last thing you want to be doing is standing out here trying to figure out what to do in a situation like that. What I want to know, and what all the viewers want to know too, is share your story. Have you ever been in a situation like this, and what did you do? How did you handle it? Help us educate others as to what they can do if they ever find themselves in a tragedy like this, where they've got to make a decision but don't know exactly how to go about it. So let's help as a community teach others as to what options there are. So comment below. Make sure to let us know your story. Well, I'd like to say I hope you enjoyed this video, but you know, it wasn't really I think those are the wrong words to put towards it. I hope you found this video informative. I hope you found this video real, and I hope that this video can in some way maybe help you in the future for being prepared for bad things happening. And yeah, so, but if you'd like to see more videos about keeping it real, about my journey with horsemanship, about everything that I encounter on a daily basis with horses, if you want to see all that stuff, the best thing that you can do is subscribe, and be sure to ding that little bell, and you'll get all notifications for new videos that I put up. And I try to post several videos a week, and I never know what it's going to be. So today I didn't know that I was going to get a phone call from my mom this morning saying that there was a horse dead in the stall. But, you know, and I look at it as a opportunity to help educate others. So You know, I filmed what I could and what I felt was appropriate to share with others. And of course I wanted to keep, I didn't want to have any footage of the horse herself in there because I don't think that that needs to be shared, but you guys get the point. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I feel very lucky that I have my partner in crime along for the ride with me. Anytime something happens, he is there on the spot, ready to come with, ready to help in any way. So big thanks.